On a dusty hilltop in the Middle East stand great rings of carved stone, raised by human hands. They are temples older than anything we thought possible. They were built 11,000 years ago. Before farming, before riding, before the wheel. 6,000 years before the pyramids of Egypt. Hunter-gatherers with no metal tools carved and raised these giants. And no one knows exactly why. This is the story of Göbekli Tepe. Welcome to Curio Hour, where we uncover the strange, the unsolved, and the unforgettable. Today's story, Göbekli Tepe. In the south of modern-day Turkey, near the border with Syria, lies a region of rolling, sun-baked hills. For thousands of years, farmers have worked this ancient land. One of these hills was known to locals as Göbekli Tepe, which means roughly the hill with a belly or potbelly hill for its rounded shape. It looked like nothing special, just a low rise crowned with a lone mulberry tree, scattered with broken stones that farmers had long pushed aside. In fact, archaeologists had visited the hill decades earlier. They saw the broken limestone slabs and assumed they were the remains of a medieval cemetery. They moved on. It was an understandable mistake, but it meant that one of the most important discoveries in human history sat ignored just beneath the surface for many more years. The truth would not emerge until the 1990s, when a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt came to take another look at the overlooked hill. Schmidt had studied other ancient sites nearby, and when he examined the stones of Göbekli Tepe, he immediately sensed that something here was very wrong, or rather, very extraordinary. He realized these were not medieval gravestones at all. The worked limestone was far, far older. He later said that within minutes, he knew he had two choices: leave or spend the rest of his life here. He stayed. Schmidt began to excavate. And what his team pulled from the earth would stun the world of archaeology and force historians to rewrite the story of civilization itself. As they dug, they uncovered enormous stone pillars standing upright, buried in the hill. And these were no rough, simple stones. Each pillar was shaped like a great letter T, with a long vertical shaft and a wide top. Some stood over 5 meters tall and weighed many tons. And they were carved. Across their surfaces marched a menagerie of animals, rendered in beautiful, confident relief. Foxes, snakes, scorpions, boars, vultures, and cranes. The carvings were skilled and deliberate, full of meaning we can only guess at. Some pillars even had arms and hands carved on their sides, as if they were great stone beings. These T-shaped pillars were arranged in circles, great rings of standing stones, with two especially large pillars rising at the center of each one. Ring after ring emerged from the hill. Göbekli Tepe was not a single structure, but a whole complex of these massive stone enclosures. It was clearly a place of great importance. A monumental site built with enormous effort and care. To Schmidt, it looked like nothing less than a temple. And that raised an enormous question. Because to build a temple like this, you need many things. Planning, organization, a large workforce, a shared belief. All of that suggests a settled, complex society. The kind that, according to everything we thought we knew, did not yet exist when Göbekli Tepe was built. Because when the archaeologists dated the site, the results were almost impossible to believe. The oldest layers of Göbekli Tepe were built around 9,500 years before the Common Era. That is more than 11,000 years ago. Let that sink in. To put it in perspective, the famous pyramids of Giza are about 4,500 years old. Göbekli Tepe is more than twice as old as the pyramids. Stonehenge in England would not be raised for another 6,000 years after Göbekli Tepe was already standing. When these stone circles were built, the world was still deep in the Stone Age. The great civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Indus were unimaginably far in the future. There was no writing, no metal tools, no pottery, no wheel, and crucially, as far as we knew, no farming. The people of this time were hunter-gatherers. And this is the heart of why Göbekli Tepe is so revolutionary. It completely upends the accepted story of how civilization began. For a long time, the story went like this. First, humans learned to farm. Farming produced surplus food. Surplus food allowed people to settle in towns. And only then, once people had towns and free time and organization, could they build great monuments and temples. Religion and monuments came last as a product of civilization. Göbekli Tepe turns that idea on its head. Here was a monumental temple built by hunter-gatherers before farming had truly taken hold. It suggests that the urge to gather, to build, and perhaps to worship may have come first, and that this great shared effort may have driven people to settle down, rather than the other way around. In other words, it may not have been farming that gave birth to religion and temples. It may have been the temple that gave birth to civilization. Some researchers believe that the need to feed the many workers who gathered to build Göbekli Tepe may have helped push people toward farming the wild grains that grew nearby. And remarkably, this very region is thought to be one of the places where wheat was first domesticated. The dawn of farming and this great temple sit side by side. So who were these people and how did they do it? With no metal tools, they quarried, carved, and raised stone pillars weighing as much as a modern truck. They shaped hard limestone using only stone tools, chipping away with incredible patience. They moved these giants across the landscape and stood them upright in careful arrangements. It would have taken hundreds of people working together, sharing food, and following a common plan and vision. This was a society far more organized than we ever expected for the age. But what did it all mean? What were the carvings of foxes, vultures, and scorpions for? Why these animals in these arrangements? We simply do not know. Without writing, the people of Göbekli Tepe left us no texts, no names, no explanations. Only the silent stones and their carved creatures. Some scholars think the site was tied to death and the afterlife, pointing to the vultures and other carvings. Others see a connection to the night sky and the stars. It may have been a place of pilgrimage, where scattered groups of people came together for great gatherings, feasts, and ceremonies before returning to their wanderings. And then there is perhaps the strangest detail of all. At some point, the people of Göbekli Tepe did something extraordinary. They buried it. Deliberately, they filled in the great stone enclosures with rubble and earth, covering the pillars and hiding the temple beneath the hill that gave it its name. Why would they bury the very thing they had worked so hard to create? It is one of the deepest puzzles of the site, and we have no certain answer. Perhaps it was an act of reverence, sealing the sacred site away. Perhaps beliefs changed. But in a strange way, that burial is why the temple survived so beautifully for us to find. Excavations continue to this day, and only a small fraction of the site has been uncovered. Ground surveys suggest many more stone circles still lie buried, waiting beneath the hill. There may be far more of Göbekli Tepe still hidden than has ever been revealed. The hill may hold its greatest secrets yet. What we have already found is enough to change everything. Göbekli Tepe proved that the people of the Stone Age were capable of breathtaking ambition, cooperation, and artistry. It pushed back the origins of monumental building by thousands of years and forced us to rethink the very birth of civilization, religion, and society. raised by hunter-gatherers at the very dawn of our story, then buried, then lost, and found again after 11,000 years. The first great temple of humankind. Göbekli Tepe.